"Don't trust your husband," my dying mother whispered. Then I found her secret diary and everything made sense. If you're just tuning in, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. And please show us some love with a like and comment below to let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from all over the world. The morning sun filtered through the pristine white curtains of the suburban home, casting golden shadows across the hardwood floors. Everything appeared perfect from the outside. The manicured lawn, the luxury cars in the driveway, the picture-perfect marriage that neighbors envied. But perfection, as many would learn, was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. 28-year-old Lily Wills moved through her morning routine with mechanical precision, her silk robe trailing behind her as she prepared breakfast. Her husband Victor sat at the granite kitchen island, scrolling through his phone with the same detached expression he wore every morning. His perfectly pressed suit and polished shoes suggested success, but something cold lingered in his dark eyes. "Your mother called again last night," Victor said without looking up, his voice carrying an edge of irritation. "She wants you to visit her at the hospital today." Lily's hands trembled slightly as she poured orange juice into crystal glasses. Her mother, Patricia, had been in and out of the hospital for months now, her condition mysteriously worsening despite the expensive treatments Victor insisted on funding. The doctors couldn't explain the strange symptoms. The sudden weakness, the unexplained nausea, the way her vibrant mother seemed to be fading before their eyes. "I should go see her," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible above the morning news playing softly in the background. Victor finally looked up, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Of course, baby. Family comes first." His words sounded supportive, but Lily caught something else beneath them, something that made her skin crawl. She couldn't shake the feeling that her perfect husband was hiding something dark, something that would shatter her world completely. The hospital corridor reeked of disinfectant and despair, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows that made everyone look pale and sickly. Lily's heels clicked against the polished floor as she made her way to room 314, her heart pounding with each step. She had visited her mother countless times over the past few months, but today felt different, heavier somehow. Patricia Wills lay propped against stark white pillows, her once strong frame now frail and diminished. Her rich brown skin had taken on an ashen hue, and her eyes, once bright with life and laughter, now held a haunting darkness that chilled Lily to the bone. "Mama," Lily whispered, taking her mother's cold hand in hers. "How are you feeling today?" Patricia's grip tightened unexpectedly, her fingernails digging into Lily's palm with surprising strength. "Baby girl," she rasped, her voice barely audible above the steady beeping of monitors. "I need to tell you something important. Something I should have told you months ago." The urgency in her mother's voice made Lily lean closer, her heart racing. Patricia's eyes darted toward the door nervously before focusing intently on her daughter's face. "Don't trust your husband," Patricia whispered, her words hitting Lily like physical blows. "He's not who you think he is. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you'll look in my jewelry box when I'm gone, the secret compartment behind the mirror." Before Lily could respond, before she could ask what her mother meant, the monitors began alarming. Nurses rushed in, pushing Lily aside as they worked frantically over Patricia's failing body. Within minutes, her mother was gone, taking her secrets with her into the darkness. The funeral parlor was filled with the scent of lilies and grief. Hundreds of mourners gathered to pay their respects to Patricia Wills. Lily sat in the front row, her black dress wrinkled from tears, Victor's arm draped possessively around her shoulders. His presence should have been comforting, but her mother's final words echoed relentlessly in her mind. "She lived a full life," Victor murmured in her ear, his breath warm against her neck. "At least her suffering is over now." Something about his tone made Lily's stomach churn. She studied his face carefully, searching for genuine grief, but found only a mask of appropriate sorrow. Had he always been this cold, this calculating? Or was her mother's warning making her paranoid? After the service, as guests mingled in the church hall, Lily found herself surrounded by family members and friends sharing memories of Patricia. Her cousin Hazel approached, her eyes red with tears and something else. Guilt, perhaps? "Lily, I'm so sorry for your loss," Hazel said, avoiding direct eye contact. "Your mama was special. She always looked out for everyone." "Thank you," Lily replied, then hesitated. "Hazel, did my mother ever say anything to you about Victor?" Anything that seemed strange. Hazel's face went pale and she glanced nervously around the room before grabbing Lily's arm. "Not here," she whispered urgently. "But we need to talk. There are things you need to know. Things I should have told you a long time ago." Victor appeared beside them suddenly, his smile charming but his eyes watchful. "Ladies, what are we discussing so seriously?" The way Hazel immediately stepped back and mumbled an excuse before disappearing into the crowd sent ice through Lily's veins. Her mother's warning was beginning to feel less like the ramblings of a dying woman and more like a desperate attempt to save her daughter's life. 3 days after the funeral, Lily stood alone in her childhood bedroom, staring at her mother's antique jewelry box. The house felt eerily quiet without Patricia's presence, every creak and whisper of wind seeming to carry her mother's voice. Victor had insisted on coming with her to sort through Patricia's belongings, but she had convinced him to handle the legal paperwork downstairs while she tackled the personal items. Her hands shook as she lifted the heavy wooden box, remembering her mother's cryptic words about a secret compartment behind the mirror. The jewelry box had been in their family for generations, passed down from grandmother to daughter, but Lily had never known about any hidden compartments. She examined the ornate mirror inside the lid carefully, running her fingers along the decorative edges until she found a small, nearly invisible latch. With a soft click, the mirror swung open, revealing a narrow space behind it. Inside, wrapped in faded tissue paper, was a small leather-bound diary and a manila envelope thick with documents. Lily's heart pounded as she opened the diary to the first entry, dated just 2 months after her wedding to Victor. Her mother's familiar handwriting filled the pages, but the words made her blood run cold. "I made a terrible mistake. I told Hazel about the inheritance money during Lily's engagement party, never imagining she would betray family secrets. But I overheard her on the phone with someone, giving details about the trust fund Lily will inherit on her 30th birthday. Now I fear I've put my baby girl in danger." The diary entry continued, detailing Patricia's growing suspicions about Victor's true intentions. Each page revealed a mother's desperate investigation into her son-in-law's background, uncovering lies that would shatter everything Lily believed about her marriage. Lily's hands trembled as she flipped through more pages of her mother's diary, each revelation more devastating than the last. Patricia had documented everything with meticulous detail: phone calls she'd overheard, suspicious behavior she'd witnessed, and most damning of all, Victor's real background. "Victor Jenkins is not his real name," one entry read. "His birth name is Malcolm Hendricks and he has a history of targeting wealthy women. I found court records showing he was investigated in the suspicious death of his previous wife, Elena Hendricks, who died just 2 months after inheriting her grandmother's estate. The case was closed due to lack of evidence, but the patterns are too similar to ignore." The diary revealed that Patricia had hired a private investigator, whose findings were contained in the manila envelope. Lily's fingers shook as she spread the documents across her mother's bed: photographs, financial records, death certificates, and police reports that painted a horrifying picture of the man she'd married. Victor had systematically targeted women who were about to inherit significant wealth. His pattern was always the same: charm them, marry them quickly, wait for the inheritance, then eliminate them in ways that appeared natural or accidental. Elena Hendricks had died from what appeared to be food poisoning. Rebecca Martinez, another former wife, had supposedly fallen down the stairs in her own home. The list went on, each woman dying mysteriously shortly after accessing their inherited wealth. But Patricia had discovered something even more chilling. The final entry in her diary, written just days before her hospitalization, revealed the most terrifying truth of all. "I confronted Hazel yesterday. She broke down and admitted that Victor had been paying her for information about our family's finances. She told him about Lily's trust fund 3 years ago, and he's been planning this marriage ever since. But when I threatened to expose him, he became desperate. I'm certain he's been poisoning me slowly, just like he did to those other women. If something happens to me, Lily needs to know the truth." The realization hit Lily like a physical blow, knocking the breath from her lungs. Her mother hadn't died from natural causes. She had been murdered by the man Lily shared a bed with every night. The man who kissed her goodbye each morning, who brought her flowers and whispered sweet words of love, was a calculating killer who had been planning her death for 3 years. She thought back to her mother's mysterious illness, the way Patricia had grown weaker and sicker despite expensive treatments. Victor had insisted on handling all of her mother's medical care, choosing the doctors, monitoring her medications, even bringing her special meals during hospital visits. He had positioned himself as the devoted son-in-law while systematically destroying the woman who threatened to expose him. Lily's phone buzzed with a text message, making her jump. It was from Victor. "How's the packing going, baby? Need any help up there?" The casual tone of his message, knowing what she now knew, made her stomach lurch. She forced herself to type back, "Almost done. Be down soon." She quickly photographed every page of the diary and all the documents with her phone, then carefully returned everything to the secret compartment. Her hands moved automatically while her mind raced. How long did she have before Victor grew suspicious? How long before he decided it was time to eliminate her too? The sound of footsteps on the stairs made her freeze. Victor was coming up, probably wondering what was taking her so long. She closed the jewelry box with shaking hands and grabbed a random photo from her mother's dresser, trying to look like she was simply overwhelmed by grief. "Hey," Victor said softly from the doorway, his voice full of fake concern. "You've been up here a while. You okay?" Lily turned to face the man she'd thought she loved, seeing him clearly for the first time. His handsome features now seemed sinister, his concerned expression a carefully crafted mask. "Just having a hard time," she whispered, letting real tears fall. "Everything reminds me of her." Victor crossed the room and pulled Lily into his arms, his embrace feeling like a trap rather than comfort. She forced herself not to recoil from his touch, knowing that her very life depended on maintaining the facade of the grieving, unsuspecting wife. "I know this is hard, baby," he murmured against her hair. "But your mom would want you to move forward. She'd want you to focus on your future, our future." His words carried a weight that chilled her to the bone. He was already thinking about her 30th birthday, just 18 months away, when she would inherit her grandmother's trust fund. Over the next few days, Lily found herself studying Victor with new eyes, cataloging every suspicious behavior she had previously overlooked. The way he monitored her phone calls, his insistence on handling all their finances, the expensive life insurance policy he had convinced her to take out shortly after their wedding. Every loving gesture now seemed calculated, every kiss tainted with the knowledge of his true intentions. She began her own careful investigation, using her lunch breaks at the marketing firm where she worked to research her husband's past. What she discovered made her blood run cold. The private investigator her mother had hired was right. Malcolm Hendricks had left a trail of dead wives across 3 states, each death carefully planned and expertly executed. But Lily also discovered something her mother hadn't. Victor wasn't working alone. Each of his previous marriages had involved a family member or close friend who provided inside information about the victim's finances. In her case, that person was Hazel, her own cousin who had been feeding Victor information about her family's wealth for years. The betrayal cut deeper than Victor's deception. Hazel had been like a sister to her, someone she had trusted with her deepest secrets and fears. To learn that her cousin had sold her out for money felt like another death in the family. As Lily sat at her desk, pretending to work while actually planning her survival, she realized she was completely alone. She couldn't trust the police. Victor was too smart, too careful. She couldn't trust her family. Who else might be involved? Her only hope was to outmaneuver him at his own deadly game. 2 weeks after her mother's funeral, Lily received a call from Patricia's attorney requesting a meeting. She sat across from the elderly lawyer in his mahogany-paneled office, Victor beside her holding her hand in what appeared to be a supportive gesture but felt more like a restraint. Mrs. Wills left very specific instructions regarding her estate. The attorney began, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed the documents. The bulk of her assets, including the family home and investment portfolio, will be held in trust until your 30th birthday as originally planned. However, there's been an addition to the inheritance that she never previously disclosed. Lily's heart skipped a beat as the lawyer continued. Your mother inherited a significant sum from your great-aunt Eleanor, who passed away in Europe last year. This inheritance, combined with your grandmother's trust fund, means you'll be receiving approximately $12 million when you turn 30. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. Lily felt Victor's grip on her hand tighten imperceptibly, though his face remained perfectly composed. $12 million. more than enough to justify murder in his twisted mind. That's incredible, Victor said, his voice steady but his eyes gleaming with something dark and hungry. Patricia never mentioned anything about Eleanor's inheritance. She specifically requested that the full amount remain confidential until after her death, the attorney explained. She was apparently quite concerned about family security. As they left the lawyer's office, Victor was unusually quiet, lost in thought. Lily knew he was recalculating his timeline, planning his next moves. With this much money at stake, he would become even more dangerous, more desperate to ensure his plan succeeded. That evening, as Victor showered, Lily called the one person she hoped might help her understand the full scope of the betrayal. When Hazel answered, her voice was shaky and filled with guilt. "Lily, I've been wanting to call you, but I didn't know what to say." "The truth would be a good start," Lily replied coldly. "I know about Victor. I know what you told him. The question is, are you going to help me stop him, or are you going to let him kill me too?" The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Hazel's breakdown was immediate and complete. Through her tears, she confessed everything to Lily over the phone, her words tumbling out in a desperate rush of guilt and fear. "He approached me 3 years ago at that conference in Atlanta," Hazel sobbed. "He was so charming, so handsome. He said he was a businessman looking to invest in our community, and he asked me about successful families in the area. I thought I was just making conversation when I mentioned your family's wealth." Lily listened in horrified silence as her cousin revealed the extent of her betrayal. Victor had cultivated their relationship carefully, taking Hazel on expensive dates, buying her gifts, making her feel special and important. In return, she had fed him detailed information about Lily's life, her routines, her relationships, and most importantly, her future inheritance. "He never told me he was planning to hurt anyone," Hazel continued, her voice breaking. "I thought he genuinely fell in love with you when I introduced you two. By the time I realized what he really was, it was too late. He had photos of us together, evidence of the payments he'd made to me. He said if I ever tried to warn you, he'd make sure I went to prison as an accessory." The pieces of Victor's elaborate scheme were falling into place. He hadn't met Lily by chance at that coffee shop 3 years ago. It had been a carefully orchestrated encounter, with Hazel feeding him information about Lily's favorite places and daily routines. Their entire relationship had been built on lies and manipulation. "Your mama figured it out," Hazel whispered. "She confronted me 2 months ago, demanded I tell her everything. When I did, she was furious, but not just at me. She was terrified for you. She said she was going to expose Victor no matter what it cost her. And that's when he started poisoning her," Lily said, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. "I didn't know for sure until the funeral," Hazel admitted. "But when I saw how Victor acted, how he seemed almost relieved, I knew your mama was right about him. Lily, you have to get away from him. You have to run before it's too late." But Lily was already formulating a different plan. Running would only delay the inevitable. Victor would find her eventually. If she wanted to survive, she would need to beat him at his own deadly game. Lily threw herself into the role of the perfect, unsuspecting wife with an actress's dedication. She cooked Victor's favorite meals, planned romantic evenings, and spoke excitedly about their future together. Every smile was calculated, every touch designed to reinforce his belief that she was completely unaware of his true nature. Meanwhile, she was methodically gathering evidence and building her own network of allies. She contacted the private investigator her mother had hired, a sharp-eyed woman named Detective Angela Torres, who had retired from the police force to work private cases. Torres agreed to help, impressed by Patricia's thorough documentation and driven by her own desire to see justice for the women Victor had killed. "Your husband is very good at what he does," Torres explained during a clandestine meeting at a coffee shop across town. "But he's also arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable because he's gotten away with it so many times. That arrogance will be his downfall." Torres had continued investigating Victor after Patricia's death, uncovering even more evidence of his crimes. She had also made contact with law enforcement in other states where Victor's previous wives had died, building a network of investigators who were eager to finally bring him to justice. "The key is timing," Torres explained. "We need to catch him in the act of attempting to poison you, preferably with multiple witnesses and concrete evidence. It's the only way to ensure he can't slip away again." Lily's hands shook as she considered what Torres was suggesting. She would have to let Victor poison her to come close to death in order to trap him. The risk was enormous, but it was the only way to ensure he would never hurt another woman. At home that evening, Victor seemed unusually attentive, bringing her tea and asking about her day with what appeared to be genuine interest. But Lily could see the calculation behind his eyes, the way he watched her drink the tea, the slight disappointment when she finished it without any immediate effects. He was testing different substances, she realized with growing horror. Trying to find the perfect poison that would kill her slowly enough to avoid suspicion but quickly enough to ensure she died before her 30th birthday. Over the following weeks, Lily documented every suspicious incident with meticulous care. The morning coffee that tasted slightly bitter. The dinner that left her feeling nauseated for hours. The vitamins Victor insisted she take for her health, which made her feel dizzy and weak. Detective Torres had provided her with testing strips that could detect common poisons, and Lily began secretly testing everything Victor gave her to eat or drink. The results were terrifying. He was systematically introducing small amounts of various toxins into her system, monitoring her reactions to determine the most effective method for her eventual murder. But Victor was also growing impatient. Lily could see it in the way he watched her, the questions he asked about her health, the concerned calls he made to doctors about her mysterious symptoms. He was building a medical history that would support a natural death when the time came. The breakthrough came when Lily discovered Victor's private computer hidden in a locked drawer in his home office. Using skills she'd learned years ago in college, she managed to crack his password and access files that revealed the full horror of his operation. He kept detailed records of each woman he had targeted, including photos, financial information, and methodical notes about their deaths. Elena Hendricks had been slowly poisoned with arsenic over 6 months. Rebecca Martinez had been drugged and pushed down the stairs during a calculated accident. Soline Allison had died from what appeared to be an allergic reaction to medication that Victor had tampered with. Most chilling were his notes about Lily herself. He had been planning her death for over a year, waiting for the perfect moment when her inheritance would be at its peak value. He had even researched the legal implications of her death, ensuring that as her husband he would inherit everything despite their short marriage. But Lily also found something else in his files, evidence that he had been researching new targets. Young women from wealthy families who he planned to pursue after Lily's death. Her murder wouldn't be the end of his killing spree. It would just be another stepping stone in his twisted career. The realization that other innocent women would die if she didn't stop him gave Lily the courage she needed for the final phase of her plan. The plan Torres and Lily had developed was elegant in its simplicity. They would stage a romantic dinner at home with multiple hidden cameras recording everything and Torres waiting outside as backup. Lily would drink whatever Victor offered her, but she would have already taken an antidote that Torres had obtained from her contacts in law enforcement. The night arrived with unseasonable warmth. Spring air carrying the scent of blooming flowers that reminded Lily painfully of her mother's funeral. She dressed carefully in Victor's favorite dress, a red silk number that he had bought her for their first anniversary, when she had still believed in their love. Victor had spent the afternoon cooking, an unusual occurrence that confirmed Lily's suspicions about his plans. He had prepared her favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables, and had already poured 2 glasses of expensive wine. "To us," Victor said, raising his glass with a smile that no longer fooled her. "And to our beautiful future together." Lily clinked her glass against his, noting how his eyes followed her movements as she brought the wine to her lips. The liquid had a slightly metallic taste that the testing strips had identified as containing mercury compounds, a slow-acting poison that would cause organ failure over several days. As they ate dinner, Victor was more charming than he had been in months, telling stories and laughing at her jokes with apparent genuine affection. It was a masterful performance from a man who had perfected the art of deception. "I've been thinking about our future a lot lately," he said as they finished the main course. "Especially after meeting with your mother's lawyer. $12 million is life-changing money, Lily. We could travel the world, buy that house we always talked about." The irony wasn't lost on her. He was planning their future while actively poisoning her present. But as the wine worked its way through her system, Lily began to feel the effects despite the antidote Torres had given her. Her vision blurred slightly and her hands began to shake. Victor noticed immediately, his expression shifting from loving husband to calculating predator. Are you feeling all right, baby? You look a little pale. I don't feel well, Lily whispered, letting her voice tremble with genuine fear. This was the moment of truth. She had to convince Victor that his poison was working while secretly recording his confession. Victor moved quickly to her side, his mask of concern perfectly in place. Let me help you to the couch, sweetheart. You're probably just tired from all the stress lately. But as he helped her stand, Lily caught the flash of satisfaction in his eyes. He thought he was watching her die and he was enjoying every moment of it. The wine, she gasped, stumbling slightly. It tastes strange. For just a moment, Victor's mask slipped completely. Does it? He asked, his voice cold and clinical. That's interesting. You know, Lily, I've been wondering something for a while now. Did your mother tell you anything before she died? Any final words of wisdom? Lily's blood ran cold. He knew. Somehow he had figured out that Patricia had warned her. She told me she loved me, Lily lied, but Victor's smile told her he wasn't buying it. I think she told you more than that, he said, dropping all pretense of concern. I think she told you not to trust your husband. The question is, what did you do with that information? Before Lily could respond, the front door burst open. Detective Torres rushed in with 2 uniformed officers, their weapons drawn. Freeze. Police. Victor spun around, his face twisted with rage and desperation. You have no proof of anything, he snarled. She's my wife and she's having a medical emergency. We have everything on camera, Torres said calmly, gesturing to the hidden recording devices. Your confession, your attempt to poison her, all of it. Malcolm Hendricks, you're under arrest for the murders of Elena Hendricks, Rebecca Martinez, Soline Allison, Patricia Wills, and the attempted murder of Lily Wills. As the officers cuffed Victor, he looked directly at Lily with pure hatred. You think you've won? You have no idea what you've done. There are others involved in this, people you trust. This isn't over. But Lily felt only relief as they led him away. Her mother's final warning had saved her life, and justice would finally be served. The nightmare was over, and she could begin to heal from the betrayal and trauma that had consumed her world. 6 months later, Victor was convicted on multiple counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Hazel, who had cooperated fully with the investigation, received probation and community service. And Lily, finally free from the shadow of her would-be killer, used her inheritance to establish a foundation helping other women escape abusive relationships. Her mother's diary had one final entry that Lily discovered later. If you're reading this, it means my plan worked. I love you, baby girl. Live freely. Thanks for watching. Give us a like if you liked the video and share with us in the comments what you think about this lovely tale. We always enjoy reading your comments.